Stampers, welcome to my craft room and another episode of Card Play. Today I'm going to show you how to make this great birthday card, which I think is great for teens or for adults, male or female. And it's going to use a technique that I believe I invented today, making this ink blot with some freezer paper. So let's get started. To begin, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. We're also going to need some freezer paper. You can buy this at your grocery store. Notice that this paper is shiny. It's plastic coated on one side and matte finish on the other side. And I'm going to take a piece that I used a little bit earlier. And what we're going to do is take some of our reinkers. So I have Baja Breeze and Pacific Point and also Perfect Plum. And we're going to start with the lightest color, which is the Baja Breeze. I'm going to open that up and just put about 3 or 4 dots of ink here on this freezer paper. And I'm going to do that with all of these colors. So a little bit of Pacific Point now, and then also with the Perfect Plum. And for this technique, because we are working with ink, I'm going to go ahead and put on a dishwashing rubber glove. And now what we're going to do is fold this freezer paper in half and just smush down on that ink a little bit. And you can move it around. Again, you probably want to work a little bit on a scratch piece of paper, but that ink is nice and wet underneath. So just push it around. And what you're doing is creating your own original Rorschach ink blot. And then you're going to open it up. No two cards are going to be alike. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and take our piece of Whisper White cardstock, and we're just going to put it right down on that ink blot, and we're going to smush, for lack of a better term. And then we're going to peel it up, and you've got this great looking ink blot. I'm going to take our heat tool and just dry this piece of paper. And that feels pretty dry. Now we're going to go ahead and get creative with our stamping. I'm going to use the Extreme Element stamp set. This has some really fun images. And I'm going to start out with this dotted image and take some Elegant Eggplant Classic ink. I'm just going to ink that up in full strength, do a little bit of stamping of that stamp here. And then I'm going to do a stamp or two with half strength. So stamp off first, and then go ahead and stamp off again, and a little bit at half strength. And we're also going to take this really nice image, full strength, and stamp that right on there. And we're going to take this image as well, place that there. And I also like the little crown image. And this one we're going to go a little half strength and stamp it right about there. And then what we're going to do is take this very large blot kind of stamp, and I'm going to use my Pacific Point ink. Going to ink up that stamp. So let's stamp that off to make it a little bit lighter, and then I'm just going to go for it. Right over whatever I've stamped. And I'm actually going to come here where these places are a little bit white and make that also a little bit blue color. Great. We're going to take this star image, and this time what we're going to use is our Versamark ink, because I want to go ahead and add some great silver embossing powder to really pop these stars off of the page. And we're going to ink this up, and we're going to stamp those stars in a couple random places. Maybe a few down here, and a few up here, and maybe a couple right over here. So we're going to take our silver embossing powder. We're just going to put on some of that embossing powder and tap it off. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to grab our heat tool again, and let's heat this up. So let's set this aside. The next thing we're going to do is stamp this birthday greeting. To do that, we're going to need our Upsy Daisy stamp set, and we're going to grab this stamp that says Birthday Celebrations. We're only going to be stamping the word birthday. And we're also going to need a piece of elegant eggplant cardstock. This piece is 2.5 inches by 1 inch. To just emboss and stamp this one word, this birthday word, we're going to take our Versamark marker. We're going to use the brush side, and we're just going to ink up that word birthday. So now we're going to stamp this greeting a little bit to the bottom and to the right of this small piece of cardstock. And then we're going to take our silver embossing powder and just going to emboss, and let's heat emboss. I actually also want to round these edges. I have this corner rounder. It makes 1/2 inch rounded corners, so I'm going to just round these 2 edges. And I also want to put a little embossed star here on this green. Now I'm going to once again use my Versamark marker and just ink up this one big star. Just kind of eyeball it. I'd like it a little bit off the edge and press. And again, we're going to take the silver embossing powder, get that right on that star, and last time with the heat tool. Now we need to make the word happy. To do that, we're going to use a different stamp set, and we're also going to need a small piece of Whisper White cardstock, just a scrap paper, and we're going to use the rough type stamp set. And to do this, we're going to need one of these clear acrylic blocks. We're going to need the letters for the word happy, and we're also going to use, once again, our Pacific Point ink, and these are really simple to use. All we're going to do is press that block right down. We're going to ink it up lightly. You don't need to press as hard, and just the H. Now we're actually going to go ahead and punch them out using our small 1/2 inch circle punch. So just go ahead, use the back side of this punch. There you have it. To put them on the card, we're going to use dimensionals. You'll notice that I've cut my dimensionals in half. So before we adhere those letters, we've got to put our card together. We're going to take a card base. This is an elegant eggplant base, and this one is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I scored it down the middle. And there's another layer. This one is the Pacific Point layer, and this layer I made 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then the ink blot background that we made is going to go right on top. I'm going to use my large tape gun for this job since it just goes a little bit quicker. And then we're going to adhere the Pacific Point layer Great. And now we're going to put the birthday greeting on. So we're going to put some dimensionals on the back. And I like this a little bit off the center, and you'll notice I like the stars kind of coming into each other. So I'm just going to raise that a little bit. And now to get these happy letters to line up, I'm actually going to start with the Y and work my way backwards. So starting from the end and working our way backward. And last but not least, our double layered beautiful H, since that's going to be here across the edge, or off the edge I should say. And now the last thing to be concerned about is having a dark inside to your card. To avoid that issue, I'm going to go ahead and take another piece of cardstock. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm going to embellish it just a little bit. I'm going to take my elegant eggplant ink and just ink up this stamp off once, and then put that flourish in the corner. And we're going to adhere this to the inside of the card. And there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Card Play and this great new ink blot technique with freezer paper. Hope to see you again soon here in the craft room.